Hello and welcome back to this sort of extra videos that I'm doing on my Let's Play Final Fantasy VII. Now in the last video I said we were going to be taking on not only Emerald Weapon, which we did and we beat without too much difficulty, but we'd also be taking on its sort of pseudo-twin Ruby Weapon. And that's what we're going to do in today's video, so let's load up our game and I'll go over basically the strategy here. Now, one of the things you're going to notice as being different is our location. The only reason we're in a different location is because I didn't come prepared. We're going to be using the item Dazers because we're going to be capitalizing on one of Ruby's key weaknesses, which is the status effect Paralyze. Now, for those of you who may not have even known, you can even land the High Wind right here by the Forgotten Capital and the Sleeping Forest on the northern continent. Just on the other side of Bone Village. If you go in this direction down back through Coral Valley, you'll fight enemies known as Bound Fats. They're usually found in groups of 3 along with these 2 seahorse looking enemies. I don't quite know their technical name. You steal Dazers from them. And as always, we are utilizing just for the speed and efficiency of it, the W item glitch to get 99 of them. We won't even use that many. We're also going to be capitalizing on the hero drink. We only need 3 or so for each character, not that big of a deal. Only to play fair, and I'll explain the reasons why when we get to fight Ruby. I guess one of the things we should talk about is why is Cloud and Red 13 killed off. We need that because we're going to be also capitalizing on a little bit of an AI script exploitation to kind of make our fight a little bit easier. And again, we'll go over that momentarily. But since we already have the Dazers that we need, we're going to head over to Calm, since we will require a set of Master Materia. And hey, we just so happen to have the Earth Harp, which we can trade for a set of Master Materia. How convenient. And since I mentioned in my last video you had to go to the Calm and find the Calm Traveler, well, I figure I'll show you guys who and where, what he looks like and where you can find him and all that good stuff. Oh, if I wouldn't, what I wouldn't give to have analog control in this game. Alright, talk to this fellow here. Okay, so if you find the guidebook, which I mentioned, you'll get by morphing ghost ships in the underground, the underwater Junior Reactor tunnel. You'll get the underwater materia, which would negate Emerald Weapon's 20-minute time limit, which we didn't even need to deal with. The Desert Rose is an item we'll get from Ruby Weapon, which will allow us to get a free gold chocobo. And of course the Earth Harp is what we got from defeating Emerald, which gives us our set of Master Materia. Now, if you're wondering where we're going to get, where you could get Master, Materia and all that stuff if you didn't, want to fight Emerald. If you saved any of the huge Materia during the huge Materia side quest, you can actually trade in a set of mastered Materia for whatever one you want to go for. So if you have one set of every single magic Materia mastered, you can trade all those in for a single set of Master Magic. It's kind of, and you can do that as many times as you have the necessary components. But we're gonna just rely on the nice, easy way of acquiring them. Besides, if the game's going to be kind enough to, hand it to us on a silver platter for beating Emerald, we're going to take it. And there is Ruby just sticking up out of the sand. So before we get started, let's go over our battle plan. Let's go over our character's equipment. Not much will have changed from the Emerald Weapon fight. Cloud is still using his Ultima weapon, a Mystile, and a ribbon. The ribbons are actually going to be useful. Ruby can in fact inflict status ailments, and that is why we need to be protected against them. Mystiles we're also going to be utilizing. If you don't have them, that's okay. The only reason we're really capitalizing on them in this fight is because they give your characters, if off the top of my head I recall this correctly, 60% chance evasion, which is really cool. Which also explains why in the last video Cloud didn't get hit by Air Tam Storm. Tifa is going to be utilizing the Powersoul again. Only this time I'm going to show you kind of how effective it can be. She's also using a Mystile and the Curse Ring, which increases all of your stats, but it will inflict death sentence, which still is not going to be that big of a deal. We've got plans. And again, Red 13 has Limited Moon, another Mystile, and a ribbon to protect against nasty status effects. The only materia Cloud's going to need are the 2 HP pluses to give him his max HP, Elemental and Fire in his armor, which Ruby, as you might be able to surmise by the color and the name, is Fire Elemental in nature. He'll use some spells with fire components, so we can basically get free heals from him. MP Turbo is going to be taking the place of connecting Master Summon. Now you might be wondering, why not just pick up another summon or something of that nature? Well, Master Summon will give Cloud the ability to use all of these an infinite number of times, whereas if you had a Master Summon Materia, you can only use it up to 5 times, and since we will be utilizing Knights of the Round 6 times in the upcoming battle, this is the best way to go about it. Let's see, Red 13. He has, again, 2 HP pluses, W item, which will come in handy with healing and paralyzing Ruby. Healing our party and paralyzing Ruby. We're not going to heal Ruby, that'd be crazy. Elemental Fire again. And then Tifa has the most amounts. She has HP pluses to get her to max HP. Long range, since we are going to be attacking periodically with her to capitalize on the Powersoul's uses, and Deathblow, which is effectively, if it hits, an instant critical attack. She has Elemental with Ifrit, which is, you know, again, protection from fire, and added effect Hades. This will give us some bonuses and pretty much effectively work like a kind of weaker ribbon, because I don't feel like going to morph Master Tonberries. And she's going to get the all connected with Master Magic, because this will give her life too, and we'll be able to use it on our party members once we get into battle with Ruby. I think that's all of the oh, one more thing to mention. We are setting the ATB battle bar to wait. If it was set to active, Tifa's death sentence counter will count down much faster, and thereby she'll die much sooner when we really don't need to worry about that. We're going to put it on wait, give it a little bit more time to run its course, and by then it should be fine. But enough, you know, talking, let's fight. You could use a Chocobo or the High Wind. What's that? A wild ruby weapon appears. Okay, now this is the reason why we utilized killing off 2 of our party members. If we were to face Ruby like he is now, he would be invincible. Literally, you cannot hurt him when his tentacle fingers are not in the sand. So by killing off 2 party members, he'll instantly put them in, because prior to putting the tentacles in, what he normally would have done is use a special skill called Whirl Sand, which will randomly take 2 of your party members out of the battle permanently for the fight. And we don't want that, so we're going to go with this. So now he can actually be damaged. The tentacles are a bit annoying, but nothing to be too concerned about. We're also going to throw 3 hero drinks on all of our characters just to kind of play up to Ruby, since he's not playing fair. You know, he's playing with a loaded deck, as one might say. Ruby Weapon is the only enemy in the game with the highest defense stat, so he is not only when he's invincible, but when he's not invincible, it takes a lot to damage him. So we're just, you know, kind of playing fair here. I believe Red 13 needs a hero drink. After that, we're just going to wait for him to come out of the paralyzation, which I believe he is, and then we'll go with our little plan. Dazers, Mega Elixirs, that's what Red 13 is going to be doing. We're going to use Knights of the Round and have Tifa attack. Now that we have some time with the game kind of doing its own script thing, why are we doing this way? Well, obviously the hero drinks will boost all of our stats, defenses, and attack to kind of make it more level playing field. The MP Turbo and the hero drinks will kind of max out the Knights of the Round. And the reason we use Knights of the Round is because you need to have a piercing element in your attack to really bypass Ruby's insane defense. One of Yuffie's limits has the piercing element, but most notably Knights of the Round and Bahamut, and those forms have that skill. But it would take far too long to capitalize on, you know, the 800,000 HP that we want to chew through with, you know, using Bahamuts, and it would take too long. So Knights of the Round's a nice, fast, or one of the fastest ways of accomplishing that. Beyond that, Dazer's paralyzed, obviously. We want to paralyze Ruby because anytime we use summons, he's going to counter with Ultima unless he's paralyzed. Ergo, why we're paralyzing him. And Tifa should, if her attack lands, get a free, you know, decent amount of damage in him to kind of just expedite the battle. Not bad. Alright, Dazers, Mega Elixir. Let's see, let's throw another hero drink on Tifa. The tentacles, you really don't have to worry about. They can inflict status effects, which, if you have the right preparation like we kind of do, it's not too much to worry about. His fire-based Ruby Flame and things of that nature aren't going to be any concern to us since we're going to heal from that. It's really just a matter of taking a couple turns to chew through his HP. And that's really what makes him difficult. The Ultima counter to summons. He has the Shadow Flare magic enemy skill, which can really do a doozy in your characters. And his invincibility and his AI script kind of, you know, it's unfair. Which explains why he has 200,000 HP less than Emerald. Simply because he's a little bit more tough to fight. But beyond that, you come prepared. Not a problem. I mean, you don't even have to do half of the stuff that I'm doing. You can probably still manage to beat Ruby. One thing to be careful of, you don't want to kill the tentacles, which Knights of the Round don't even attack, thankfully. And you don't want to let the battle go on too long. If you manage to do everything we've done so far and bypass the Whirl Sand to eject 2 of your characters, the problem becomes... I lost my train of thought. No, I didn't. The problem becomes after 52 rounds, he will in fact pull those tentacles out and go back to what he was doing, which means he'll reuse Whirl Sand, which is not something that we want, obviously. But for the most case, since there's not a time limit and you can utilize a lot of different strategies, you really should not ever go beyond his 52 attack limit before he restarts his AI script to use that Whirl Sand. And since we have already used 3 Knights of the Round, we're already probably chewing pretty close to halfway through his HP easily. And it's really repetitive, just like the Emerald fight, but, you know, when you're really working on a limited strategy and materia set, you really don't have room for a lot of experimentation, unless you want to put in the time, which we're doing this at a fairly decent level. We don't have a lot of that time. But if you wanted to, if you power up your characters, you take a lot of time to prepare, you can come up with a lot of creative ways of defeating both Emerald and Ruby that could be a lot of fun. But this is just one of the easiest ways of doing it. The game pretty much hands you pretty much all the things you need. And yeah. So let's just kind of go through the motions here. Tifa will eventually be killed through death sentence, or frozen with stone. Petrify, that's the word I'm thinking of. And we're going to wait for Ruby to start moving again, like so. And then go with Knights of the Round. And capitalize on her Powersoul, which actually I should explain. The reason I like using the Powersoul, and if you haven't seen my Let's Play of Final Fantasy VII, you probably won't know this. Tifa effectively becomes a very strong powerhouse as early as Mountain of Belt. The Powersoul has 2 different power modifications on it. If Tifa reaches a critical HP level, which is anything below 25% of her max HP, her power doubles. If you add to that the death sentence, it quadruples. So quadrupling and doubling, we have 8 times normal power attack if she's in critical HP and under the death sentence. That's one hell of an attack force. And by using the Deathblow materia, if she lands a critical already on top of that, you're looking at 16 times a normal attack damage. Do that enough, and she easily outclasses every character in the game at that point. And I think she'll, when she dies and the hero drinks wear off, and the curse death sentence from the curse ring wears off, I'll go ahead and attack with normal attack with her on Ruby to show you just the huge amount of difference all these things makes. So she's dealing 35,000 points of damage. Right? So Tifa is going to unfortunately be killed off here in the next turn, which we're going to wait for. This, I believe, I wasn't keeping track, is our 5th Knights of the Round, I believe. We only should have to do 6 of them, more or less. Interesting to note, Knights of the Round is actually not Knights of the Round, it's actually Knights of Round. Probably due to text title limitations, character space limitations. But it's interesting, it's often abbreviated KOTR, and it's actually just KOR. But considering it deals with the 13 Knights of the Round Table, kind of makes sense. Alright, Tifa is going to die. We're going to revive her and Mega Elixir. Phasers. We're gonna attack. $117. Yeah, that just lets you know how kind of difficult it is. Ruby Flame's not going to do anything for us. And I don't believe we need to worry about Tifa because we're going to kill Ruby Weapon with this casting of Knights of the Round. Unless I missed a count there somewhere, which is entirely possible. But whereas Emerald was a little bit less time consuming, given the fact that we have a 20-minute time limit, Ruby just takes so long because we have to cast Knights of the Round so many times. You could utilize, like I said, the Bahamut's, but I mean, let's break this down mathematically. 13 Knights for about a minute, I think a minute and 20-second casting. You know, 6 of those is only a little over 7 minutes. 8 minutes, actually, a little over 8 minutes. Whereas if you had to use the Bahamut's with Quadro Magics and things of that nature, easily you're looking at 8. You can only do 8 at a time, or upwards of, I think, 12 or more, so you're looking at a significantly longer period of time. It's not really worth it. Not to mention, the last thing you want him to do is come out of Paralyzation and use a summon. You don't want to be contending with Ultima, even though you might be able to be avoided with, evaded with the Mystiles. I misinterpreted it. One more. And let's go with Bahamut, just for the hell of it. We're gonna see what Bahamut can do. This is probably my favorite Bahamut out of all the Final Fantasies. Just the way he shows up and how awesome, you know. He's just the classic awesome Bahamut. Alright, Knights of the Round and we'll kill them off. Look, 249. That's pretty pitiful. You know, that just is a testament to how strong Ruby Weapon's defenses are. If Tifa is able to deal 3,500 points of damage, and that's with 8 times normal attack power, on top of already, you know, maxing out her stats with, you know, 4 hero drinks. That's pretty crazy, considering without all those things, you really can't defeat Ruby too easily just through physical attacks alone. Ruby Weapon, you have been judged. And there goes the other super boss of Final Fantasy VII. There is a third. His name is Safer Sephiroth. Unfortunately, even to max out Safer Sephiroth to his maximum, he simply won't provide much of a challenge. It's a shame. The concept was good, but ultimately failed. And just like that, both Emerald and Ruby Weapon have been defeated. all relatively at simple levels between level 67 and 69. You could do it at significantly lower levels. It just depends on how much time you want to put into preparation. But this is fairly easy, not too much work went into it. Nothing to it. So go out, take them on, try your own strategies, or copy mine, it doesn't really matter. But just go have some fun. So once again, thank you guys for watching. I'm Gray Chaos Angel. I will see you guys on my next video. Later.